Hey, how are you? I'm so excited you're back. So, I know you've heard a lot about SEO. Does it matter? Do you need it? Today, I want to talk about what is actually important in SEO if you have less than 1,000 downloads per episode. Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome to the podcast about podcasting, where you guessed it, we're talking all things podcasting. Whether you are just ready to launch your show, or maybe you're a seasoned podcaster ready to grow and monetize, this podcast is for you. We're talking about the strategy, but beyond that, the mindset it takes to grow a massively successful podcast in this day and age. So, if you are ready to take your podcast to the next level and make big bucks, you've come to the right place. I'm your host, Jen Dragonette, so let's dig in. Yep, I've fallen trapped to this one too. I have put so much effort into so many things, including SEO. I have spent tons of money on show notes, and there's a few things that I want to start off. If you are doing more than 1,000 downloads per episode, you have a reputable website that other websites have backlinked to, then focus a little bit harder on your SEO. But if you are just getting started, maybe you haven't launched yet, or maybe you have less than 1,000 downloads, here is what you actually need to focus on for SEO. Are you ready for it? Not much. First, if you are actually spending time to write show notes, I do believe that you should put them on a blog because show notes have no searchability at all. And at least on a blog, you might get very lucky, like lotto lucky. But if you do not have a reputable website, do you really need SEO? The answer is yes and no. So first we have to just talk about there's two types of SEO. There's the SEO that shows up in Google, the part of why I just told you that you should put things on your blog. And then there's podcast SEO. And this is what I think is actually important to you right now as a new podcaster or someone who is getting less than 1,000 downloads per episode. Right now, we've got to focus on getting people in the app that they're already listening to. Because I don't know about you, but if you stumble across a blog that has a website, have you ever clicked the website link to actually listen to the episode? I know I haven't. So you're asking me, oh my goodness, I've been spending so much time and so much money. I've been paying someone to do this, or I've just been stressing. The answer, you stop. Just stop. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. I promise you, you don't have to do it. So what you need to focus on as a newer podcaster, whether you haven't launched yet, or again, you're under that 1,000 downloads per episode, make sure your show title is optimized. You are a creative soul. I know you are. I feel you. The more creative your title, the less likely your show will be found. The things that are actually searchable in podcast player apps are your show title, your show description, and your episode titles. But I really want you to focus first and foremost on your show title. If you have some cutesy pootsy show title right now, something super creative that doesn't tell your listener anything about your show, or maybe you've named it, hey, the Jen Dragonette Show, which let me tell you, I've thought about doing. That's not helpful when it comes to actual searchability inside a podcast player app. And that is what you really want to focus on when you have less than 1,000 downloads. Let's be real. I launched this podcast, called it The Podcast About Podcasting. I will be extending the title out to The Podcasting About Podcasting, how to launch, grow, and monetize a podcast, because I want people to find it. When people are in the mood, I should say, to listen to podcasts, where are they? They're not searching Google. They're a podcast player searching. So if my podcast comes up, The Podcast About Podcasting, and they want to know about podcasting, guess what? They're going to find my podcast. So I really want you to think about whether you have a show or you're starting a show. If you're going to title it something, have an extension. I put one of those line placeholders and then I extend it out with a couple of keywords. Don't get too keyword heavy because it looks cruddy, let's just say. But you really want to focus on that. The next thing you want to focus on is your show episode titles. Make sure those are searchable because, again, that is one of the 3 places on these podcast player apps that's actually searchable. And in your show notes, if you're just getting started, don't spend tons of money on creating beautiful show notes. Again, unless you're putting them on a blog and you have a long game. But I really want you growing your show. And right now, I would rather you focus that effort that you're going to write those stupid show notes that take you an hour or more. I'd rather you put that effort somewhere else that's actually going to get the needle moving forward. So in your show notes, if you want to write a little blurb, great. But really, you can just put your links that you've referred people to in your show notes. Maybe a one-liner. Don't go big. Don't spend tons of time and money in here because, again, it is not going to be worth your effort until your show is credible, until you're getting tons of downloads. And again, your blog isn't going to be credible until you're having backlinks, which means other reputable websites are linking back to your blog. It's not going to be reputable with Google. So you might get lucky, but realistically, until you've built that trust factor and you have started having people go back, link back to your show and from their episodes, and you have the other few things, you have to have a fast loading website and you should have those keywords in there. But realistically, you don't need that as somebody who's just rolling out the gate or somebody who has less than 1,000 downloads. Let's focus on the things moving the needle forward. So for SEO, long story short, for those of you who are just starting or have less than 1,000 downloads per episode, I want you to optimize the crap out of your show title. I want you to optimize your show description. And I want you to optimize the crap out of your episode titles. Other than that, leave it behind and just let it be, let it be, let it be. Yes, as you grow, it can be part of your strategy to grow, but it's really not where anyone's seeing growth right now. If you want to waste your time and play the long game and be hopeful, great. Maybe take those little mini blurbs and put them on a Pinterest graphic and use that as Pinterest searchable. But realistically, you have to think about when a person is ready to listen to a podcast, they're not searching Pinterest for a podcast. They're not searching a blog for a podcast. They're searching for quick hits. Podcasts aren't normally quick hits. What I really want you to focus on is making sure that your podcast is SEO friendly inside search engine optimization, inside the podcast platforms, not inside of Google or anywhere else. Yes, you can use those as your warm market and they can drive some traffic. If you want to move the needle forward, that's where I personally suggest you focus right now because we all are limited on time. So don't spend your time spinning your wheels, creating all these things, trying to drive all this traffic when you don't really need to be doing that. I do still embed metadata or all the ID3 into all my audio files and metadata into my images because I still believe, as someone who came out of the world that had to actually script and code websites, yes, I'm that old, folks, I still believe that is helpful down the line. So I will still do that because it doesn't take me that much time. But if you're spending a ton of time on SEO strategy, realistically, look at the SEO strategy just inside the podcast player app. That's going to give you the most bang for your buck out the gate. So if you have any questions, you know where to find me. You can find me over on Instagram at j.dragonette. You can find me at my website at jdragonette.com. I am here for you. And if you haven't joined the Feed Your Business with Love community, you should come over. We are talking about podcasting for your soul, using podcasts to build your business, finding yourself, and really creating a life of freedom and flow and fun. Because if your life is more fun, your business is going to be more fun. And when you are more aligned, that money flows in. And I want that for you, soul sister. I will talk to you next week. Have the most amazing day because you are worth it, you deserve it, and let's get your show growing. Go out and do the things, and I'll see you next week.